I move to call the meeting of the Marshfield Conservation Commission of Wednesday, October 18th, 2023 to order. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
As per usual, we are in hybrid form. You can access this meeting in person on Zoom, and it is being recorded by community television for viewing at a later time. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes. Did everyone have a chance to go through them?
Yep.
Do you have edits on any of them, all
I
of
have
them?
not received edits on them.
No edits, so we're all,
So as
does anybody
distributed?
have, before we go one at a time, I'm just going to do a blanket if nobody had any issues. I move that we approve the minutes of July 19th, 2023, August 2nd, 2023, August 16th, 2023, September 6th, 2023, and September 20, 2023 as written. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our first business item is 99 Bay Avenue. And if you would come up and introduce yourself and,
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Sill, and I was the bank attorney in 2017 on this property when it was conveyed from Daniel and Suzanne Garrett into Jeffrey and Maura Kassler. As part of the title exam, we did not catch the order of conditions because they were indexed under Dan Garrett and Susan Garrett as opposed to Daniel and Suzanne Garrett. So now the property is under agreement to be sold. The subsequent title examiner for the law office that's doing the bank work did catch it because they must have run Dan Garrett, and lo and behold, an order of conditions popped up. Obviously, that's my plot plan up there. We were aware there was an encroachment. It looks about to be 5 feet to the westerly side of the property. My title insurance company authorized me to issue affirmative coverage on the loan policy and then to take an exception on the owner's policy, but I was in the dark as to that order of conditions there on that cottage at the back westerly portion of the property. So I'm here to seek guidance on a possible mitigation plan or what we need to do to try to close out that order of conditions.
so the abutting property that the cottage encroaches on, I believe is town-owned?
Yes, it appears to be, yes.
Okay, is that?
Yes, that's
Is
correct.
that accurate?
Yes.
Is it conservation land, or is it just,
I'm not certain on which town entity owns it, but it is under.
but it's town-owned?
Yeah, it is
The
town-owned.
deed said it was acquired for conservation.
For conservation?
It's likely conservation.
Yeah.
And do you know when the cottage was built?
The cottage was built, there was a building permit that issued from the building department that was issued in the year 2000, and I believe it was constructed within that year.
Okay.
I don't know if they got a sign off, but it looks like they built it to the footprint because there was a pre-existing structure that was a dilapidated old cottage, and it looks like they just copied the footprint on it. And then they had certain requirements like these pier pilings to elevate it and things of that nature, and that there couldn't be any heating systems below that or anything, which there's not.
And where did the retaining wall come from? Does anyone have any idea?
We don't have any permitting history for that
permitting,
retaining
there's-
wall itself. The cottage was proposed under SE 42-1477, which is, I believe it's that permit from the mid-2000s, as you stated there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it appears that that retaining wall from the picture I saw of the original building permit or application in the year 2000, it showed the old cottage that was demolished, and it does look like that was pre-existing. And, so presumably it's been there for quite some time. Certainly pre-existing the ownership of Daniel and Suzanne Garrett.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much of the cottage would you say is in the encroachment there? It looks
Yeah,
small.
Yeah, it's minimal, but I mean, I would, I looked at the plan from the building department, and it looked like 5.9 feet. 5 feet 9 inches is from the
Okay.
looks of it. Yeah.
And the town-owned abutting property, that's just empty? It's,
Yep.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's about 18 acres of salt marsh.
okay.
There is a portion of what appears to be yard and that retaining wall on the town-owned parcel.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was nothing in the building permit authorizing the construction of a retaining wall or anything like that.
Right, we
So,
don't,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that's entirely on town property, so since we have no idea how it got there, who did it, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
the town owns that retaining wall.
yes.
I don't know.
Whether
I
they own it
mean-
or not, but yeah, they do in fact own it.
The cottage, yeah, and the lawn encroachment. Anybody have any thoughts?
The wall down, if that wall were to be taken down, maybe the marsh would extend.
As,
further.
as mitigation
Cover,
and for the
yeah.
cottage and let
Cover
the
that
lawn go? That's a thought.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
Yeah, I
is
think
fair.
that might be reasonable, but I think it might be a question for town council.
Yeah.
It's similar to, we had a house on Cherry Street that
Oh, yeah.
encroached onto conservation land, and I think it was a similar thing, that the building encroached on it probably before the town owned the property, and in this case, I think the town acquired the property in about 2010, whereas your records show the building was there in 2000, and probably before.
Yeah, the new building that was built based on the building permit. The prior building, I'm really not sure. It doesn't seem like there's any record of it.
But nevertheless, both the building that is there now and the retaining wall were there when the town acquired the property, and that wasn't picked up on.
Right.
Right.
And the other thing is, if they had an approved permit, is there a site, do you have a site plan that shows it?
Yeah, I believe I do.
Yeah, I don't think we can really answer this tonight, but
Beyond us.
I think Susan's idea was reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, but, and am I correct in saying that you have a close, the property is supposed to close next Monday?
That is correct, yes. Yeah, and, the parties are aware of the issue, so we're just trying to
Okay.
figure it out and so we can get
Okay.
it resolved. Yeah. I do have a very small copy of the plan if you'd like to see it. This was with the permit.
Yeah, could we have a look
Yeah,
at that?
I have a few copies. Well, we'll start with this one anyways. I do have a bigger copy.
Yeah, I think it is safe to say that wherever we get to tonight, we're going to have to talk to Bob Galvin, Town
Yes.
Council,
Yes, okay.
to make sure we're not missing something, or so
Right.
that everybody is protected and,
Yes.
I mean, the plan shows the building located on their property.
okay, that's hay bale, and,
Yeah, I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like, they,
yeah, but this isn't an engineered,
Do we have an engineer?
no,
We don't
but
have
it is,
an.
it is Millbrook Survey.
Oh, it is,
Yeah, it's
okay.
all done.
okay.
So that
Yeah,
site
here's a better.
parcel
That's-
is different from the,
Well, it shows the building being located on their lot.
so, I don't know, but when we go with, look at it, This property line as opposed to the yellow.
Well, I think it's the same thing.
1994, revised.
Let's check.
Mike, the drawing up there, where
Maybe
did
was
that
the
come
one
from?
was dilapidated.
Yeah, we,
That was provided by yourself.
In kind.
Yes, in conservation, they printed off that big plan, and then I pulled the jacket from the archives. They were kind enough to go get it in the building department, and that's what was there. So I had that made into a PDF and emailed to me today. And this one was printed off by conservation last week. But they appear to be the same plan.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Are they the same? Yeah.
Yeah, they
Just
are.
You can see it,
Yeah.
it's
a
easier
bigger
on your
version.
eyes.
And that's where I was getting that figure on the encroachment, because it looks like it was almost recognized as such. And I just kind of eyeballed the back of it, and it was 5 feet, 9 inches.
Yeah, and this one shows nothing about the retaining.
Nothing, the retaining wall
Right.
isn't anywhere.
Right, so I don't think that was involved in the project, so that's how I deduced it was pre-existing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the retaining wall is off the property.
Correct.
So if they were drawing it, they wouldn't necessarily have included it.
Yeah.
Well, I think Susan's suggestion is a good one. If we could come to an agreement, remove the retaining wall, essentially, and stop mowing, stop maintaining lawn beyond what is the property line.
Right.
As mitigation for letting the cottage remain where it is.
Okay.
Does anyone,
I'm not sure we want to commit to that right now.
I'm not going to commit to it. That's what I'm going to present to Bob Galvin.
Okay.
Because the building commissioner comments also says he has
Right.
his issues too.
Right.
Have you been into the building department?
I was there this morning,
Okay.
yes. But I didn't consult with anybody, I just was trying to obtain records.
Okay. It
Yeah.
sounds, because of floodplain requirements and everything, you may have some issues there too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, they may have been addressed as part of when that cottage was constructed in the year 2000, because it is elevated.
Yeah, but his comment probably has to do with the wall, if the wall wasn't there.
Right.
Wait,
I
'cause-
think the wall was there, though, because I noticed on the application for the building permit, they showed the old structure, and you can see that there is a wall there. They were sitting in town land.
I don't see it on this.
Let me see if I can,
Yeah, the building commissioner says neither the primary, the reconstruction of the cottage was never closed out with a certificate of occupancy,
right.
a required elevation certificate, or a certified as-built. So you need to set up a meeting with Andrew Stewart, the building commissioner,
Okay,
and see what his concerns are.
okay. And I do have a picture of the cottage. Picture down here, right there, you can actually see that wall. That was what was there when they tore that down. as a parking lot.
Can't really tell much. No, I can't.
I saw
So that photograph was presumably taken around 2000?
That's correct, yeah, because that was part of the application.
Yeah.
Because they demolished that little cottage.
Well, we can't solve this tonight.
Understood.
The building commissioner needs to chime in.
Yep.
I think from the perspective of this commission, I will go to town council, show him the situation, and say we would be amenable to losing the wall and the incursion into the salt marsh of lawn as mitigation for allowing the building to remain.
Right.
But I can't honestly tell you that's what's going to happen.
Right. No, understood. So that's the recommended course of conduct.
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
be satisfied with that.
Okay, yeah, and it would be a expense to the current owner for the removal of the wall and.
Correct.
And you're saying the, dealing with the lawn,
They would need to stop maintaining that as lawn
understood.
beyond where the actual property line is
Right.
and
With the exception of the encroached area of the building.
of the
Yeah,
building.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And, I don't know if we would need to plant some salt marsh grass or if it would revegetate naturally.
Okay.
We'd probably need to check with a wetland scientist.
Okay.
Mike?
I just checked our satellite resources, and there is evidence of a retaining wall here dating back to 2014. That's the oldest our satellite
And it
imagery
goes back, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that picture's from the year 2000.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
the stub of it there, so it's been there a while.
Yeah,
It was there when, I assume, the current owners bought the property, so,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to read the file from the 2000 permitting to see what was actually.
To see what, yeah.
Right. Okay, so I need to consult with Andrew Stewart.
Andrew Stewart,
We're going to consult with town council.
and I will speak with town council,
Okay.
and we'll see where we are.
Yeah, and then it's going to come into the need for possibly an as-built plan.
Right.
Elevation certificate, and then possibly dealing with the vegetation expert, and then the removal of the wall itself. Yeah,
Correct.
Okay, okay. All right, I mean, it sounds fair enough to get this thing moving, and we'll go from
Okay.
there.
Well,
Yeah,
I wish you the best. That's
yeah.
a tough one.
yeah, and,
Not what the buyer or the seller wants to hear.
no, and I mean, I'm taking ownership of it, but it was difficult when I saw that they had the wrong name of one of the owners and then an abbreviated name on the other, so
Right.
it didn't pick up in
So
the
it didn't
index,
pick up.
the registry of deeds. It's really, it's quite a misfortune, literally, yeah.
I always wonder how these things happen, and
Yeah,
there's
well,
one of
that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
All right.
we'll, I'll be in touch with you. You have contact information
Yes.
for Mr. Sill? Yeah.
They've been in contact.
yes, thank you,
Um,
Michael.
So I will speak to you after I speak to town council, but separately, you'll need to go speak to the building commissioner,
Okay, all right,
to
thank you very much.
deal with his
Appreciate your time.
concerns. You are welcome. Yeah, you
Thank
can
you.
take these. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, now we are on to our public hearings. The first is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by Paul Pinherio for 193 Pinehurst Road, and the hearing officer is Susan.
Okay. The administrative requirements are complete. I've confirmed that. Is there, so this is the construction of a single-family home, septic system, driveway, and associated utilities within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland, and there is also natural heritage endangered species overlay on the entire property. So, Gary, you presenting?
Thank you. Yeah, for the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering, representing the applicant, Paul Pinheiro. As was just stated, this is a notice of intent for a new single-family home, the property being at 193 Pinehurst Road. This is very similar to a project that we had permitted on this lot back in 2018. At that time, this portion of Pinehurst Road wasn't constructed. It was an unimproved way. Back in 2018, the commission did approve construction of a single-family home on this lot. Since that time, this portion of Pinehurst Road has been constructed. It's been permitted and reviewed and approved by the planning board, but construction of the single-family home never occurred on this lot. This is the only lot that is served by that portion of Pinehurst Road. This lot here, it's a little over 4 acres in size. Our proposal is to construct a single-family home, a 4-bedroom home on the lot. The footprint is shown on the plan. You'll see that the driveway, the septic system, all of the utilities are in the front yard, which is all entirely outside of the 100-foot buffer. But what does extend into the 100-foot buffer is the back corner of the house, a portion of the porch on the back of the house, and grading associated with the backyard. At the bottom of the screen here, in blue, is the edge of the wetlands that exist. That's a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Brad Holmes, who's our professional wetland scientist. Off of that are the various buffer zones, most notably the 50-foot no disturb in red, which we comply with, and the 100-foot buffer in green. The structure itself complies with the 75-foot no structure setback. It's proposed at 75.6 feet. The limit of work, the limit of clearing associated with this is a little less than half an acre in size. Again, this is a 4-acre lot. The total impervious lot coverage is 3.5%. The total impervious coverage inside of the buffer zone is 0.7% of the buffer.
Hi. Yeah, I am. I'm just hiding.
Michelle, I believe that your audio is on. Michelle
Okay.
Grenier?
I'm on it. Yes.
So that being said, we feel that it complies with the requirements of the Marshfield wetland bylaw. We turn it over to you for your review or comment.
I just have one question for you. The setbacks are fine, everything looks,
Yep.
all the conservation markers are in place, I saw them. My only question is with regard to the natural heritage, we have no, the letter, we don't have a copy of that, or the findings.
Sure. So we submitted this package to National Heritage. We haven't heard anything back from them with this. We'll provide you a copy of their findings at the time that they're issued, but they have not been issued yet. Where it's a single-family home and we're preserving 80% of the lot, I don't expect any issues with them, but it has yet to be.
And there was one of the, according to the building commissioner, you'll need to go to ZBA because the construction is in the inland wetland district. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay,
Yep.
so that will be forthcoming. All right. Mike, do you have any comments?
Single family home, there's a notable amount of grading just to get up to the street level there. Other than that, we're still waiting on the letter from Natural Heritage Endangered Species. We have the receipt of the check that was sent to them.
I saw that. Commissioner comments?
It looked to me when I went to the site as if there had been extensive mitigation planting done under the 2019 permit.
Yes, that's correct. That 2018 permit, when we
18.
built the road, we had mitigation proposed down in the lower half of this lot, markers as well as plantings. Brad Holmes did that work, and I believe he's provided your office with kind of status updates of that. But yes, that was all done and completed.
When I was there, it appeared to me that virtually 100% of the plantings were dead. Now, I don't know if that has an impact going forward, but every plant was staked and every plant was dead. They put stakes in the ground and wrote the plant name on, most of which has faded away and is gone, but several, I could read. I didn't see anything left alive. And there is only one conservation marker across the back of the property.
I found them, there's 4.
There are 4?
Yeah.
Okay,
I had
I
to go
stand
back twice.
corrected.
I went back and.
I just saw one. Okay.
Well, you have to, I needed boots to get back there
Okay.
in the thorns.
So I don't know if the expired permit and its mitigation plan carries any weight going forward, but that mitigation plan seems to have failed.
I can ask Brad to take a look at those plantings. I personally have not looked at
Yeah.
them. Aside from doing the mitigation work, none of the work for the remainder of the lot construction was
Was done.
started, was done. So I'll ask him to give us an update on the wetland planting aspect of that.
Yeah, what happened is, a lot of clearing got done right down to the wetland line. There was a misunderstanding about what they were allowed to clear, and that's why that mitigation was required, planting plan.
Yeah, I mean, they planted a lot of plants, and sadly, they did not survive. So that's my only comment.
And in this current filing, there's no comment on the status of.
On the status of it
that,
now.
Right. They required at the time of that order of conditions in 2019 wanted annual reports for 2 years. And there was only one report that I could find, and that was in 2021. So it hasn't been, the
Hasn't
most
been.
current comments, when Brad was delineating the wetland, he addressed the wetland issues, but not that. So,
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments, concerns?
The rest of the portion of the lot, Greg, so that's just to remain natural? They've got no plans to create yard there or anything?
Yeah, just to remain natural. There's a lot of topography on the lot, so that the remainder of the lot will just stay in a wooded condition. We're not proposing to bring fill in or to clear it or anything.
I think we should note that in the minutes, so that,
Yes,
if anything changes in the future. It is a big lot, but it's,
that's big.
Yeah, agreed.
So I would like to see the, the conservation markers on the site plan. And my other concern is I don't know if we can close the hearing without the natural heritage letter.
So
I'd be a little uncomfortable because given that it's estimated in priority habitat over the whole site, if we, until we see that, to issue an order of conditions, that's my only concern.
Yeah. I'm comfortable myself doing it either way. If you want to leave it open, we can certainly do that. Your order of conditions typically does, though, however, require, compliance with all other
Yes.
permits, and this would be a separate permit from them.
Right.
So it would be included in your order.
Right.
I'm open to continuing it, though, if you'd like to do that.
Well, what do people think? If they recommended any mitigation or changes, that's my only concern. Is
Yeah.
that the scope of the project and just the site work could change a little bit, but,
seems like generally we wait till we have that letter.
That's what I would
Yeah.
say. We typically,
Yeah.
in my experience, we continue if that is still hanging out there.
Sure. We can do that.
that's my only concern. They address the siltation fence. They'll have new materials on site should anything, because the erosion would be with that slope there, one of my main concerns, but it's well addressed in the application, so I'm fine with that. Did you have a question? Yes. Could you state?
My name is Ed Moran. I live at 28 Robert Ave. We've left the proposed build site.
Okay.
And mostly I'm just here to make sure that it's been 3 years, to make sure that nothing has changed substantially. It's still a single-family dwelling, and it sounds like that's all same. But I'm glad that you pointed out the mitigation plan mostly had failed, and I'd like to at least think that should be something that should have to happen before we can move forward.
Well, when we condition it, my only question is, because that was under another permit which is now expired,
Right.
how do we,
Should we
yeah,
be able to do that?
to
without any
require
issues?
that to be
Yeah.
replanted or,
Right.
I think as it was mentioned, my recollection was they had cleared a lot and were
and that was, yeah, to make up for
in front
it.
of this board were, said that this is something you need to do to make this right. You had gone a little too far.
I mean, we can put in our conditions, well, you're going to have Brad Holmes go take a look?
I will, and if there's a condition to replace any of the dead plants, because that was the result of a violation, essentially, we're willing to do that.
Okay, so we will have the wetland scientist who originally was working on this review it, but it's pretty clear. We certainly don't have a 75% success rate, which is what we require over a 2-year period. So we will be able to condition this, having all of that replanted.
Thank you. Could you explain to me the importance of the National Heritage Letter? I don't think I understand.
Natural heritage is a state that comes from division half the state, where they map areas where there are important habitats that require protection. And so there's special regulations. Some of them are regulatory, some of them are just, they tell us that they're there and they're important. The ones on this site, they have an overlay that the entire site, and also neighboring sites as well, have this designation that there is priority habitat and estimated habitat, which means there could be turtles there, there could be, I don't know exactly, they don't tell us what they are. Sometimes it's plants, sometimes it's animals, generally turtles is one of the,
And that was, Greg, you said that you had asked for that for the original permit, so that's going on 3 years?
So we applied for that back in 2018 and were granted the permit from them. I expect we'll be granted it again because it's the same limit of work. Yep.
It's a big area there, that whole bridle path area and out towards Ferry Street, that's all the same.
My backyard spills right into it, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
often they'll they'll have recommendations of what they would want to do to mitigate for that. Other times, they'll make a determination that there's no harm done with the plants as is. So we just have to get that in writing.
Understood, thank you.
Anybody else from the public want to speak? Anyone else? So, so then I'll make a motion to continue, right? And so, do you want to put a date on that?
Can we continue for 2 weeks
Sure,
in case I get the
Do you mean
letter?
2 weeks or 2 meetings?
2 weeks,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So the next meeting.
the next meeting.
11/1.
So what's that date? Do we know what that date is?
It's November 1st.
November 1st. That's it. All right, so with that, I'll make a motion to continue the hearing until November 1st. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, 201 Ridge Road. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by Alice Clifford at 201 Ridge Road. And the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Okay, Mike, can you confirm the butters, taxes?
Taxes, fees, abutters have been met, and the DEP number was issued just before the meeting. It is SE 42-3066.
Okay, very good.
Good evening. Richard Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor. I did the survey and prepared this plan for this project for the applicant. The applicant is proposing a small addition off the left side of the home for an expansion of her bedroom, closet, and bathroom. It's part of the master bedroom in that section of the house. The property is located in several resource areas, or close to them. It's in an AE9 flood zone. It's within the riverfront of the South River, and it's also within the 100-foot buffer of the salt marsh associated with the South River. As Mike stated, we did just receive that DEP. I saw it came in at like 5:30 today, surprisingly. So they had no comments on it with that issuance of the number. This small addition on the home is going to be supported on sonotubes. It will comply with the flood regulations for the area. It's 60 feet plus or minus from the salt marsh itself. It is within the inner riparian zone of the South River. But I don't see any negative impacts. It's in an existing disturbed area and a lawn area that's there. And it will be elevated above the ground on sonotubes. That's what they're proposing and hoping to do with it. Just need a little extra room on the side of the home there, and hoping we can do that. So I'll answer any questions you might have. Do my best.
Thank you. Mike, your comments on this?
Yeah, it would be an 18-foot by 4-foot addition on sonotubes. It would be on the side of the home, pre-disturbed lawn area. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward project.
We have filed for the floodplain permit on this one. Haven't received any comments on it yet. But of course, with the structure being in the flood zone, I'm sure there'll be some
Okay,
requirements.
did you just do that today, or?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
this morning.
So the application is on flood, is in on the
It is,
floodplain
but it
permit?
didn't go in, that's correct.
Other than that, I was down there this morning. It looks pretty straightforward. Really have no issues with it. Comments from commissioners?
Nope, I have no problem.
Are there any comments from the public on this one? 201 Ridge Road? I see none. Any special conditions, Mike?
Yes, I would suggest the following. General conditions 1 through 18, prior construction conditions 5 and 2, during construction condition 11, after construction condition 1, and an elevation certificate, as well as erosion control. Condition 1.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Have I got a second?
Se-
Greg or Susan?
Yeah.
Either one.
Either one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you very
Unanimous,
much.
Mike?
Okay. Next up is 134 Surf Ave. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by Kathleen Campbell at 134 Surf Avenue. And the hearing officer is Commissioner O'Donnell.
Michael, taxes, the butters,
Taxes, fees, abutters have been met. The DEP number has not been issued.
not big
for
deal,
the
okay,
site.
so that's, is being sought, okay. I visited the site on Monday, it looks pretty straightforward, so Rick, why don't you, want to
Sure.
present the project?
Yep, Rick Savant with Mecca Taylor. This project is to elevate the existing home, make it flood compliant. What we're proposing is to elevate the home in place, go straight up vertically and put a new concrete foundation under the home, proper flood venting. All of the structures shown here, the front porch, the rear entry, that utility room, the chimney, all of it's gonna be going up with the structure. The chimney will be on the ground, of course, but they're gonna be working that. But all the other will remain, and it's just gonna go up. The requirement, at least a minimum of 2 feet it needs to go up. They certainly could go up a little bit higher just for, for protection if they choose to, but the minimum requirement is to go up to elevation 10, the finished floor, so there would be a crawl space area under there.
Okay.
We do have adequate flood venting. I'll be working closely with Andrew on this one, I'm sure, to make sure the structure is in compliance and that all the elevations and
Yep.
mechanicals and everything meet the requirements on it. That's the intent. The homeowner just will be required to lift this home to make it flood compliant.
Yep. So, I guess it's currently cinder block foundation.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, according to Andrew's notes, there is an active floodplain permit.
Yes.
You can go in and you're seeking a ZBA special permit.
Yes.
Andrew, his notes were what you're proposing. He's pretty much in sync with. He agrees with, meets all the, and exceeds all flood restraint design and construction standards. So I had one question, and it came dawned to me after I went home after the site visit. So the porches are being raised.
Yes.
How are the porches going to be supported? Are they going to be part of the same new foundation?
No, they'll be supported on posts, as like a second-story deck would be supported. The foundation is just under the main body of the home. There will need to be, and I should have mentioned this, some extended stairways and staircases to get this new structure
Yeah.
to the ground versus what's shown here. But they will just be supported with posts, possibly sonotubes or,
Okay, so do we need to know that, Michael? I mean, I guess that was...
wasn't any detail.
Are the porches currently supported by cinder blocks too, or the...
Yeah, they're just on blocks with, 4x4 posts.
Okay,
Typical construction for a porch or a deck like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. If we go up to another 2 feet,
so that's how much that...
yeah, it'll probably they don't want to go too high. The homeowner doesn't want to climb a big flight of stairs to get up in the winters and whatnot.
Yep.
So only wants to go what they have to get it to meet flood requirements. So
Okay.
if it's 2 feet, I mean, you might be 3 or 4 more steps at
Yeah.
the most. So that type of construction, I would imagine, would be a precast footing or a sonotube with a 4x4 pressure treated post holding up the porch.
Okay. Is that compliant as far as we're concerned in the
Yeah,
flood?
sonotube would be good in that environment. Typically, when a house is changing foundations or replacing an old one, putting in a new one, the existing sonotubes or whatever footing is holding up the deck are typically replaced with that as well.
Okay,
Standard practice.
all right.
Building code should cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. It just dawned on me after I left that
No, it's
I
a good
didn't...
point.
It wasn't in the write-up, and I just had the question.
Yeah.
So I asked Mike, and he said, let's just raise it tonight so everyone's on the
Yep.
same page.
No, I think it's very valid.
Anybody in the audience or on Zoom have any questions? Commissioners? Any questions? Michael, any special conditions?
Yes, I would suggest the following: general conditions 1 through 18, prior to construction, condition 5 and 2, during construction, condition 11, after construction, condition 1, erosion control, condition 1, and an elevation certificate. However, we have not received a DEP number yet, so cannot issue the orders.
Okay. So we can close the hearing though, right? Is that...
We cannot.
No.
close
Not-
and
I'm
issue
sorry, we
orders,
cannot
but We can continue and
All
then
right.
have pretty much a procedural close
Okay.
during the next hearing.
All right. So, well,
Yes, I was hoping that would come in too late today, but
5:30.
I thought it would after we got the.
About at
approval.
I wanted it to
5:35.
be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I guess given those,
I'll double check my email.
well, we'll do one last check here before
Yeah, right.
Always worth a shot.
real-time Conservation Commission meeting.
Yeah. But yeah, if that being said, sure.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Yes, we have not issued that. I mean, we have not received that yet.
Okay. So then, my motion is to not close the hearing, but we don't have to continue it to the next meeting, but
Yes, we
Motion
do.
to
we
continue.
do have to, I'm sorry, we do have to continue it to the, all right, so I'll make a motion to continue this hearing till the next meeting so we can get the DEP number. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
All right,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, we have 172 South River, the recreational trails. I don't see Ned Bang.
I spoke to Ned and Rod Procaccino to give a quick update on this project today. So Rod Procaccino is in the process, he's a town engineer background, in process of putting together a site plan for the desired work along the shoulder of South River Street between Pratt Farm and the Bridle Trail. They are looking to use satellite equipment to put together the site plan, and we're hoping for permission from the Concom to get into areas and clear out some vegetation so that they can actually have reception to make their site plan. This would be 10 feet in from the road where needed, but it's where we are. The commission asked for the Rec Trails Committee to produce a site plan for the desired work. So this is how they are desiring to do that.
So Wildlands Trust, does Wildland Trust their response to us regarding this was before they were proposing to clear 10 feet in to the conservation restriction.
I believe so. I believe originally they went forward with, I want to say 4 to 6 feet, if that sounds correct.
Somewhere in there.
It's close to the 10 feet, but yeah, I would have to confirm with that exactly
We
if
need-
they're going up to the 10-foot mark.
Do-
But that's
Do you
what
agree
they
with,
discussed.
agree with that? That would have to go, I think we need to go
Okay.
back to Wildlands
Okay.
and confirm, because that's a bigger chunk into the
Okay.
wetland and conservation restricted
I'll
area.
bring that up with Ned and Rod. It sounded like if this method didn't quite work out, it sounded like they might be able to use more of an old-fashioned set of surveying tools to get a site plan together. But I'm not sure on the timeline of that. That would probably be a lot more time-consuming.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think we
Yeah.
can just say okay to that.
Exactly.
That's different
different
than
than
what
what's
was okayed
proposed.
by Wildlands.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Beyond the scope of what we were talking about initially.
And I just found it in the notes, it was 3 to 4 feet was the
3 to 4
initial.
feet.
proposed.
Right.
Yeah, so now we're 10. That's
Yeah, that's
that's
That's a
significant.
significant change.
Just to get this.
Yeah. Okay. So I move that we continue 172 South River pending response from Wildlands Trust. We'll continue to November 1st. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Uh, Okay. 128 Highland Street. Where are we on this?
The markers are in place.
Markers are in place?
Yep, I went on a site visit 2 days ago to that property, observed the 4 markers along the 50-foot wetland buffer as required, as requested, and then the additional 2 Concom markers on the edge of lawn to the rear of the home and the shed.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Chair O'Donnell is the hearing officer.
Yeah, I mean, I think this meets the requirements of what we discussed.
What we discussed.
We've got the markers, and we've got a record of this, so if anything changes, we'll know about it. So, I think we can go
You
ahead
can-
and make a motion to close. The conditions, the conditions have been met.
Yeah, the standard RDA conditions and then the perpetual conditions for those 6 markers.
In that case, I make a motion to close the hearing. Got a second?
Second.
Second is Jesse, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, Mike?
Okay. 3 South Street. This is a continued hearing. Is someone here to present this?
I don't believe so. Is anybody here to represent 3 South Street, the Rousseau project? No, nobody's here. I suggest to continue to the 11-1 meeting.
Yes. I move that we continue 3 South Street to November 1st. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Uh, 146 Dakota Street. Maglio. Also something that has continued many times. Is anyone here to present?
Yes, I
Good evening, yes, Jed Hanna with Atlantic Coast Engineering. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So 146 Dakota, this is a raise of the existing structure, proposed, and addition of some deck areas as well as stairs on a pile-supported foundation. The salt marsh was flagged by Brad Holmes. This is in the FEMA AE 10 zone. The proposed finished floor elevation is 16.0, which is well above the FEMA flood elevation. That was mainly an order decision on that. There's also two small additions proposed to the existing structure. No further violation on zoning setbacks. We are proposing a cantilever deck that just goes over the salt marsh barely. But we did discuss this with Michael. The deck members will have adequate spacing to promote sunlight and chlorophyll. There's a new Title V septic that was approved by the Board of Health. The short story on that is that there really were no records of the existing septic system, and given the magnitude of the project, essentially the Board of Health was requiring us to upgrade the septic system to a new, fully compliant one. Went through a couple revisions on that. That is approved, and it's a fairly straightforward project. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, do you have comments?
Yep. So this home would be in the same footprint as the existing. The deck would be cantilevered to the proposed structure, so no new footings for the deck would be required. Moving down, there was, when I was on site a few months ago, I did observe a few structures that had been in the marsh for some time. They look like they'd been there for decades, including a small flower bed and a clothesline. But I didn't know if that was something the commission wanted to address during these orders of condition as well.
And I believe it isn't part of the property mown into the salt marsh.
Yes, it appears that way.
I would say that, first off, yeah, any structures that are in the marsh need to be removed, and the mowing should stop. And we're going to need conservation markers. Those are my
Okay, no problem.
those are my comments. Any other commissioner comments?
Is there an existing cesspool somewhere that has to get filled?
We aren't exactly sure, to be totally honest with you. We will, during the course of construction, we will make our best efforts. We know approximately where it is. We'll make our best efforts to identify it and, take care of it in accordance with DEP regulations.
Yeah, it seems like you'll have to follow the pipe. You'll find it somewhere.
Exactly.
Any other commissioner comments? Mike?
How many conservation markers would you believe is appropriate here?
Well, let's see. So, Dakota. hard to see on this plan where the, I would,
And the 25 runs right under the house.
under the house, yeah. Well, first off, I would say this plan does not show the flower bed, and is it a clothesline that are in the
Yes.
marsh? So here's what I would like to see. I would like to see those placed on here so we know where they are. But in the conditions, they need to be moved out of the salt marsh to another portion of the property. I would suggest that we put conservation markers along the 25. Wow, this is
That goes right under the
under the house.
How about pretty close to the salt marsh line?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
where, I mean, this
A
has been in
gradient.
existence a long time.
Right.
That's the-
So, I would say sort of to the, on the southern edge of the salt marsh, from SM3 to SM7, maybe 2. And then one out between SM10 and 12. How does
Sure, that's
that-
not a problem.
Is that, and we'd like to see those reflected on the plan also.
The conservation markers?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we want them to be on the plan of record.
Okay,
And,
we can capture that on the as-built as well.
yes. Regarding the septic, the cesspool, how,
So if I could just comment on that. So we have an approximate, you can see the leader line, it says approximate location of SAS.
yeah,
And I know in the Title V review and permit, you know, it essentially says that we need to locate it and
decommission it.
dispose it, or crush it, fill it with
Right.
sand in accordance with DEP requirements. So again, we do have an approximate location. It might not be exactly pinpoint on here, but we are aware of the regulations on that.
Okay, and that, does that come, that would come under the Board of Health also?
Yeah.
Correct. And that was part of the
Yeah,
approval process.
yeah. Okay, so, yeah, ultimately, I want to see 3 conservation markers on the plan. And either relocate or remove the clothesline and the garden that are in the salt marsh.
Okay, that's easy enough to add the where the garden is. We didn't, frankly, I don't know if it was out there when we did the existing condition survey or not. But it's easy enough to identify that with some tie dimensions. And if the commission's requiring us to remove that, I know the owner was amenable to that. She did ask specifically if she could keep the clothesline. It's been up there for years, and there's no impact to the resource areas, and she simply uses it to maximize the sunlight and the breeze coming off the South River of the marsh.
Does she go out to the line? Or is it off her?
It's in the marsh.
I have
So
a
with posts?
image.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
It's to the right hand side here. It's the area of the clothesline. It will likely become very overgrown once the mowing ceases. I will state that.
Okay, would the commission be okay if the clothesline is relocated to be inside the salt marsh line?
Yes, that would be fine.
Is that a fair reconciliation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
inside
you.
wherever the conservation markers are.
Right,
Sure,
inside the conservation markers, yeah.
understood, no problem.
And is there the crushed stone on the plan now, or does that need to be added?
Yes, we have a note that
Big of a deal it is, but.
they want to put crushed stone around the foundation to catch roof runoff.
That's exactly right, I didn't mention that. Under the proposed house, that's right, it would be crushed stone underneath the.
So that's another thing that we would
Would be
like
impervious.
to see on the plan.
I believe it is on the plan.
Is it?
I can't see right now, so zoomed out.
See it anywhere?
Is it this, is it this hatched area, or?
That's easy enough, if it's not on here, it's easy enough to add or leave a line with no.
Okay,
It's actually under the deck, right?
Exactly, it's right under the deck.
okay,
Okay.
So you're not going
So we're-
beyond the limits of the deck.
right, okay.
Right.
Okay. So we need an updated plan with conservation markers.
Shed and quote, existing stuff in the marsh.
And, yeah, just note where the, well, if they're gonna move, if they're gonna remove them,
Right.
that'll
Yeah,
be,
they may as well not.
Yeah.
have
yeah,
to
I don't need
spend
to have that,
Time on it.
yeah, drawn in. So actually, we just need conservation markers on the plan.
Okay, subject to receipt of that, are we being looked at favorably here?
What we usually do is say, if you can provide that to us by noon this Friday, we will close the hearing tonight.
Excellent, that's not a problem. We can do that.
Okay. So, special conditions, Mike?
I would suggest.
Oh, excuse me, is there any audience comment? Hearing none? If you
I would
could,
suggest the following special conditions. General conditions 1 through 18, prior to construction conditions 5 and 2, during construction condition 11, after construction condition D, perpetual conditions 1 for the conservation markers, erosion control, and an elevation certificate will be needed as well. And that is after construction condition 1, not D. Apologies.
okay. I move that we close the hearing and issue special conditions and special conditions. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so if you can just get us a plan by Friday with conservation markers, you will be
Nope,
all set.
excellent, no problem, we'll do, thank you. Have a great
Okay,
night.
thank you. All right, 0 Main Street. The hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Recusing.
Commissioner Karen is recusing.
Okay, Greg, you got the floor.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. With me on the Zoom call is our wetland scientist, Michelle Grenier, as well as the applicant, Rob Celebrity of Celebrity Realty, LLC. This is an ANRAD application at 0 Main Street over in Marshfield Hills. I presented this to the commission a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago at this point. The commission brought to my attention that there was a previous wetland delineation out at this site. Asked that we take a look at that and come back. And so that's what we've done. We looked at that wetland delineation that was previously done on the site. We staked out 5 points at random along that wetland delineation. We had Michelle, our wetland scientist, go out, and she put together a letter to the commission dated September 25th, as well as a full set of DEP BVW data sheets documenting the conditions at those locations. For the most part, along those points, she found upland soils and upland vegetation. However, there was one exception. She did identify a new isolated vegetated wetland along that line. We survey located those flags. Those are shown as the E series on the plan. We added those to the plan with the respectable buffers to them. We also identified at the commission's request a intermittent stream channel that was interior of the BVW, kind of at the front portion of the site. That being said, we provided the data sheets. Michelle is available if you have questions regarding what she found out there. But we believe that this is a line that was done in accordance with the DEP policy and can be approved through an ANRAD process.
Okay, thank you. Mike, your comments?
Yes, we asked them to revise the site plan. We received a site plan with a different wetland delineation from the last few years from another department. And yes, so this is the new wetland delineation, and yes.
Okay, it's been brought to our attention that the worksheets used weren't, there's been an updated form since those were submitted. I'm not that familiar with it myself. Could you comment on that, Mike?
Yes, the DEP released a new wetland delineation guide in the last year or so, and those require a new set of sheets, data sheets.
And they're substantially different?
They do vary. Wouldn't say necessarily substantially, but the DEP has required these new data sheets. Liz, do you have any further comments on this?
No. I mean, the data sheets the newer data sheets are a little bit more in depth than the previous ones. They're more in line with the Army Corps data sheets. So there's a little bit more information, but a lot of it's the same as well.
Okay, I guess my comment on this before I open it up to the other commissioners is, you know, we went out there for a walk once and we saw a large amount of what appeared to be wetlands. You know, none of us were qualified delineators. So at the first hearing, we talked about the possibility of bringing in a third party on this. The fact that now we have a complete new wetland that we didn't even see before. The other thing is we talked about the Hannah Ames Brook as being to the
West.
To the west. Were you able to locate that, Greg?
It's well off Locust, the brook itself.
Okay, not even the 200 line?
I don't believe the 200 even touches the site.
I feel because of the size of the property and the size of the wetlands, I feel possibly we need a third party on this. I'd like to get input from other commissioners.
I am in agreement with that. There are just discrepancies between this plan and the first plan that was presented. And additionally, we have the earlier plan that was presented. And if in fact the buffer on the western edge of the property is potentially headwaters for the Hannah Ames Brook, which I think would make it a 200-foot buffer, which
Correct.
would come onto the property. I concur that I think I would like to see a third-party delineation.
John? I concur. Okay. And we have a procedure in our policy and procedures manual for selecting a third party. So I think our action would be to authorize conservation administrator to research possible third parties.
I believe we have several third parties listed,
I believe that's the case.
and we can let you know who we plan to use.
And then there's a procedure for us to proceed with that. Are you in agreement with that?
I understand you have the right to do a third-party peer review, and we fully concur. Yes, proceed with your procedure, and we'll fund it.
Okay.
And let's come back and review this with a third party.
And so we will continue the hearing pending third-party selection and results.
Okay?
So you want to leave it open-ended as far as continuation, or?
I think you have to continue it to a date certain, so let's continue it out, say, a month. And if we get to that point and the third party has not conducted their site visit at that point, or whatever, we can, continue it again.
Okay, what's the date for the second
That
meeting?
is November 15th.
Okay, make a motion to continue to November 15th. Do I got a second?
Second.
Second is Jesse. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Greg.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That brings us to 60 Foster Avenue. Is anyone here to present that? Nope. Okay. I move that we continue 60 Foster Avenue to November 1st. Excuse me. Yes, November 1st. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And 0 Assumption Road is being continued to November 1st at the request of the applicant. May I have a second for that continuation?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we have 2 requests for certificate of compliance. 459 Highland Street, rain barrels and conservation markers are in place. I move that we vote to issue a certificate of compliance. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And 162 Bay Avenue still has an active floodplain violation, so I move to continue this to November 1st. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That concludes tonight's business. I move to close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of October 18th, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.